There's a very fine collection of documents here that have been, I'm sure that you've gone through these. The Florentine Codex, for example, represents a vast body of Nahuatl literature. Oral literature that had been circulating for a very long time, and in addition, interviews collected from informants were taken and recorded using the Latin letters, and is contained here. Now, a study of the Nahuatl language will enable us, excuse me, to take a look at these and analyze them for ourselves. And let me stress us. Right? By us, I mean we, the ones who have a direct connection, ancestral connection, to those generations that produced all of these traditions, all of these beliefs, all of these creations. It's very unfortunate. Let's say, in the case of Mayan studies, you've heard of the Mayan hieroglyphic system? Well, there is a seminar that is offered every year by the University of Texas at Austin. And it's sad, it's tragic in my opinion. I went the first time there in 1989, and it was an auditorium full of people who were studying the Mayan hieroglyphic writing. And I looked around, and the entire auditorium, the only other brown face was an invited lecturer from Guatemala. No one else. The imbalance is tragic. I think that we're the ones who are responsible, first and foremost, for taking a look at this. And one of my goals in teaching Nahuatl at Cal State Northridge is to make the language, or at least the analytical tools for the study of the language, available to general students, right, who are not necessarily specializing in anthropology, not necessarily specializing in archaeology. They are welcome too. But directed primarily at those of us who have a direct ancestral connection, because we've been cut off totally. It's simply not accessible. You want to study Nahuatl? Well, in years past you had to go to the University of Utah to study with Charles Dibble, or go to UCLA and do it by special arrangement with William Bright, who's no longer there, or recently with James Lockhart. But you had to be a graduate student, so it's not accessible. I think it should be accessible. And I think we need a fresh insight, fresh blood. Then we need people who are going to be excited about it, who are going to be passionate about it. There is a physician whose name is Fermin Herrera from the National University of Mexico City. He has specialized in botánica indígena, right? The botanical aspect of medicine of his ancestors. And in one of the articles that he published in, again, a very fine journal, I don't know if you brought any samples of Estudios de Cultura Nahuatl. Anyway, Estudios de Cultura Nahuatl has been published since the late 1960s. It has articles in there published usually in Spanish, some in English, and a couple here and there in Nahuatl. But it focuses on different aspects of the Nahuatl experience. The Fermin Herrera also published an article there on indigenous medicine. And in the first paragraph, he says the following: Quiero profesar mi más profundo indigenismo. I want to acknowledge my deepest indigenism. He claims that he felt that his ancestors had something valuable to say, something worthwhile. And that he was going to take that, precisely because he felt that way, he was going to take that and put it to a test in the laboratory. But the first step is having that attitude, that mentality. Our ancestors were worth something. There was something there, something valuable. Very unfortunately, that attitude is often missing, absent, in researchers who don't have that direct ancestral connection. And the result is, in my opinion, distorted views. There is a seminar at the National University of Mexico City, perhaps you've heard of it, Seminario de Estudios Precolombinos, no? The seminar for pre-Columbian studies. But the most interesting part of the name of that seminar is what follows: Para la descolonización de México, for the decolonization of Mexico. And what they've been doing over the last, I'd say, 8 years or so, is looking at the textbooks used by the Secretaría de Educación Pública, as the Ministry of Public Education in Mexico, and trying to eradicate all vestiges of racism against the indigenous population. This fresh attitude, I think, is something that comes very readily to us here in the United States, because we are familiar firsthand with cultural suppression. We have to take it one step further. It's not only to fight against the suppression of the use of the Spanish language, but also to fight against the lack of accessibility to the indigenous languages. And I think little by little we're making progress. Events such as this are very clear proof of that. Anyway, back to the point that I was making here. Knowledge of the Nahuatl language can enable us to take a look at this on our own. And it's very important. I remember my father used to tell us when we were growing up, si digo que la mula es parda, es porque traigo los pelos en la mano. You know what that means? If I say that the mule is a certain color, it's because I have the hairs in my hand to prove it. That is, we go to the actual primary sources. Very unfortunately, when it comes to this area of Mesoamerica, so much has been based on Spanish sources and on second-hand sources that we take it for granted that there are no primary sources. And there are. You have a lot of them here. What we need are the tools to be able to, on our own, take a look at them and come to our own conclusions. The Nahuatl language, our knowledge of the Nahuatl language, studying the Nahuatl language is the first step in that direction. And here you can see one very good example. Another one, you probably are more familiar with this than the previous one. Quetzalcoatl, you heard of Quetzalcoatl? Well, I for many years now have been intrigued by how this has been translated so often as feathered snake. Well, Quetzal doesn't mean feather. Quetzali refers to something that is beautiful, something that is precious. It does, let me point this out, refer to something very beautiful, the most obviously beautiful thing, which was the feather of the beautiful bird, known as the Quetzal bird. But inherently, that word does not mean feather. It means beautiful. It means precious. The bird that we now call Quetzal was called Quetzal, which means beautiful, Toto, which means bird. Quetzal Toto, the beautiful bird. Quetzalcoatl should be translated as Quetzal, beautiful, and then Coatl, whatever you want Coatl to mean. It can certainly refer to a snake, but first and foremost, it means something that goes together, things that complement each other, a pair, a twin. If you speak Spanish, you are familiar with the derivative. You've heard of cuate? Cuate comes from Coatl. How do we use cuate in Spanish today? We use it to refer to a twin, but also to what? A friend, because you're together, right? If they had wanted this to mean feathered snake, they would have said, Ihui Coatl. Ihui is feather. Ihui Coatl. Now, we would never know that unless we studied the actual language and the construction.